For most of the past 53 years, September also brought with it an invitation to come to the old Cabarrus County Fairgrounds on Cabarrus Avenue for the Cabarrus County Fair, complete with cotton candy, with a carousel, intriguing sideshows with informative and entertaining exhibits, with livestock and with rides for children of all ages. In recent years, the fair has moved from its location to a new location, but generations of Cabarrus County citizens still carry the images and memories of those distant times with them. Today we're doing a segment on the history of the Cabarrus County Fair, which we've called Always in September. Originally, North Carolina fairs were organized in several of the larger counties of Piedmont, North Carolina. Both Mecklenburg and Rowan counties had local fairs. They were places where farmers could come after the crops were in, compare their crop yields, socialize some, enjoy a horse race, and also trade notes on improved farming methods. In 1852, the North Carolina Agricultural Commission was organized in an effort to spread the news of improved farming practices throughout the state. In 1853, the Society held its first state fair in Raleigh, a fair which was both well attended and highly publicized throughout the state. That fair spread the news of improved farming methods to farmers in North Carolina who hadn't changed their farming practices much in over a century. It also brought excitement to some of the smaller counties in the state. In Cabarrus County, an agricultural society was organized in 1856. In that same year, a number of our local citizens entered their produce and products in the North Carolina State Fair, and a number won premiums for their entries. Unfortunately, war and the Reconstruction era intervened, and Cabarrus County didn't hold its first agricultural fair until the mid-1870s, when a group of interested citizens, including Columbus Mills and Charles Harris and others, organized a livestock fair in the Poplar Tent section of the county. That early fairgrounds was located on a broad hill behind Poplar Tent Presbyterian Church. The fair featured not only a well-known livestock show, but also an opportunity to gather together and to enjoy food, and also to enjoy the horse and buggy racing, which was popular in that day. On the eastern or Dutch side of the county, the St. John's Agricultural and Mechanical Society, which was associated with the Mount Pleasant Grange, organized a fair to be held after the crops were in 1877. That fair, which was extremely popular, was held on the fields surrounding the historic St. John's Lutheran Church. It featured not only livestock and crops which were raised in the area, but homemade preserves and quilts and goods of all sorts and descriptions. In 1888, during June, the Poplar Tent and St. John associations met together at the historic courthouse in Concord, North Carolina, to organize a Cabarrus County Agricultural and Mechanical Society of North Carolina. H.C. McAllister had the honor of serving as the first president. The society adopted a constitution and immediately began to work on plans to hire a contractor and began to erect a fairground so that the fair could be held that fall during the week preceding the North Carolina State Fair. The Cabarrus County Association met again on July 4th of that year to complete their plans for the new fairground and to let the contracts for the buildings. The association had secured a large fairground on South Union Street, between South Union and Spring Streets, and between Bloom and Tribune Avenues. The fairgrounds of about 10 acres was also going to include a half-mile dirt racetrack for the popular race and buggy races of the year. The racetrack was about 40 feet in width. By August 1888, the local newspaper reported that contractor R.A. Brown and his workmen had completed all the necessary work to build the two main buildings, Floral Hall and Agricultural Hall, as well as to build a large grandstand which would hold up to 1,800 people, as well as a judge's reviewing stand. Wells were dug on the property to ensure a good water supply both for the animals which were being exhibited and for all the visitors that were expected to attend the fair. The old fences which surrounded the St. John's and the Poplar Tent fairs was taken up and brought to the new fair location and used to create an 8-foot tall fence entirely around the new fairgrounds. George Means, who was acting as Concord's police chief in 1888, recorded in his diary that that early fair was widely attended and was quite popular with the people. Chief Means reported that those early crowds were pretty well controlled, but that he had to make a few arrests for liquor law violations, for assaults, and for violations of the ordinances against public profanity. In addition to the horse races, those early fairgoers enjoyed the spectacle of skilled local riders trying to spear 6 wooden rings while riding at breakneck speed. The rings were suspended 7 feet above the ground and located about 100 feet apart. The rider who speared more of the 6 rings was declared the winner of the tournament. Tournament and ring streets in Concord owe their names to this practice. Despite its popularity, the Cabarrus County Fair closed in 1893 and was not reorganized until 1923. The 30 years between those dates were the era of the great circuses and carnivals. Circuses arrived in Concord at the depot and then set up their tents on West Depot Street or Corbin Avenue, and sometimes on the old Winecoff property in the Hillcrest section of Concord. Many of the citizens of Concord remembered for many years the carnival which came to town in 1901, because that carnival, which set up its tents on Barbarick Avenue, included a tent in which was shown the first motion picture folks of this area had ever seen. It had just recently been made and covered the life, assassination, and burial of President William McKinley. Buffalo Bill came to town about that same time, bringing his Wild West show with a full complement of cowboys and Indians. The Buffalo Bill Wild West show was set up on North Church Street on the fields across from the location of Cabarrus Creamery. The famous female sharpshooter Annie Oakley accompanied the show at that time. Another favorite of children for this area was the famous Gentry Brothers Dog and Pony Show, which was shown every year and which was a great delight for the school children here. Even the famous 20 Mule Team, which brought borax out of Death Valley and which later became the subject of a popular television show, was also exhibited in Concord in the early years of the 1900s, to the delight of all the populace. Concord businessman Joseph F. Cannon was the driving force behind the reorganization of the Cabarrus County Fair in 1923. That fair was constructed on a large fairground located across U.S. Highway 29, near the location of the intersection of U.S. Highway 29 and Cabarrus Avenue.